man who will help coordinate this production is my good friend of long-standing, August Dellemans. As we travel down the lane to his home, it is apparent that we're in the stockbroker belt. Although August is a wealthy man, he's very approachable and a friend to all. August is an extremely knowledgeable and successful pigeon fancier, a very close friend of the Janssen brothers. Most viewers will probably have read his articles in the pigeon publications. He has been one of the top sports journalists in Belgium in his time. Also, he was editor of one of Belgium's top pigeon weeklies. The wonderful hospitality people receive at the Dellemans' home is due mainly to the trouble taken by Maria Dellemans, seen in this shot with their old English sheepdog, 2-year-old Benji. Recently, Maria had to go into hospital for major surgery, but thankfully, she's fully recovered. Even in these surroundings, the Belgian authorities allow people to keep pigeons. Perhaps there's a lesson there for our local councillors. This is August's racing loft. It is also the home of a magnificent family of direct Janssen pigeons, hence the aviaries. I believe he owns in the region of 26. If August has not got the best, I do not know who could have, being obviously such a close friend and confidant of the family.
August, this is your latest introduction from Janssen Brothers.
Yeah.
Directly.
Directly, yes.
A super pigeon.
Well, I had an opportunity because Charles, I'm a very good friend of the Janssen Brothers, you know, and I was on visit. And Charles, he showed me his most beautiful youngster he bred this year. He said,
sure.
I was so proud about it. He said, oh, look August, what a beautiful bird we bred. I said, well, I'm going to buy. He said, no, it's for myself. I said, no, you have pigeons, no, it's for me, okay? So finally I bought the bird. It's, I have on this moment about 20 originals.
20 direct original Janssen.
And I all have the opportunity and I have the occasion to buy them all from the best lines of Janssen.
Super. And what's the mother and father to this one then?
This is from the line of the Olde Lichte.
The old Lichte?
Yeah, the Olde Lichte is one of the basic birds of the Janssen bird there, and I was very happy with him, you know.
Yes.
And now I order again, one from the Gudemali, one from the Showman, one from the daughter of the Old Fox.
Yes.
And one of the daughter of the 019.
What, for this year?
Yes, for this year.
It's beautiful is this.
I want to have about 30, 40 on the end of this year.
A lot of Janssens.
Well, I like the Janssen bird because they are very hard inbreeding, and in my opinion they are very good to cross them with all other good lines.
I'm sure.
Yeah.
The best sprint middle distance pigeons in the world.
I think so, yes.
They must be.
In my opinion, everybody can have his own opinion, but you cannot discuss it because so many good fanciers all over the world doing well with the Janssen, with the evening of the Janssen. So you cannot discuss that anymore, in my opinion.
It's got to be a fact.
Yeah.
It's got to be a fact.
Yeah.
It's a proven fact.
Yeah.
Super pigeon, August.
Yeah, I like them very much.
Yeah.
I'm very proud and very happy with them. You know?
Thank you. August. Terrific pigeon?
Yeah, it's one of my best I ever had. It's 2 times winner, 1 time winner in the union, and the union by us is about 1,400 members.
1,400 members in the Antwerp Union?
Yes. And he won the first prize of Bourdon as a yearling by more than 2,400 pigeons, and he won also the first prize provincial on Bourdon by more than 2,500 pigeons. That year, as a yearling, I raised him 7 times, and always between 2,000 and 4,000 pigeons, and the 33rd prize, that was the farthest he was on the result.
So the lowest on the result was the 33rd prize?
Yeah, including the 2 first he wins.
And the 2 first. And what is the origin of this?
Well, it's...
You bred him yourself?
I bred him by myself, yes. The father is Dirk Borgmans, and Borgmans it means Catrice.
Yes.
With Janssen crossed, and
yes.
Van Loon.
And Van Loon, from Pappel.
Yes. And the mother was an original from William Geertz.
Was she?
She was a daughter of the Capoon, the Olympiad bird.
Yes.
With the sister of the Klamper. The Klamper was the first prize winner in the Union and also Olympiad bird for William Geertz.
And what is the origin of that line from Geertz then, you think?
One side is Horemans.
Yes, Horemans.
The other side is again Van den Bosch.
Well, the old Van den Bosch.
Yeah, it's always coming back.
It.
Yeah, it's always coming back.
Always coming that which were, they were basically Janssen pigeons.
Yeah.
Basically,
yeah.
Thank you, August. Beautiful eye. A lilac or a violet, as people might say.
Yeah, you can see that it's a good one.
Yes, a beautiful eye. Has he bred you anything?
Yes, I had a very good son of him, and I have a very good grandson of him.
Also.
No, more than one. One, two, three grandsons of them were doing very well.
In the racing lot?
Yeah.
Super. August, these are the pigeons that today have been to Bourges in the national race.
Yes.
And I believe you've all but one of your old birds back?
They are all back except one.
Yes, your old birds.
Yeah.
And maybe all take prizes today.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's been a heavy race, a hard race because it's so hot.
Yes, but I'm very satisfied they're doing very well, my old birds.
Yes.
It should be one of the only ones who has practically all his birds from...
All his old birds
yeah,
back.
all his old.
Today has been a record entry.
Yes.
How many pigeons today?
Well, there are about 13,000 old birds,
Yes.
14,000 yearlings, and 51,000 youngsters, altogether more than 80,000.
80,000 pigeons. That's
Yes.
the biggest race ever in Belgium.
Yeah, it's the most popular race in Belgium on this moment is the bush race.
And this morning we were filming at Prosroosens.
Yes.
Top lots of pigeons from Prosroosens, as you know. You bought them for us this year.
Yeah.
Pros had a terrific season, and he's timed a very good pigeon in the Bourges National today.
Well, he called me this afternoon after he catches his first bird. He
Yes.
later he called me again and he told me that in his area where he's racing,
In Limburg,
yeah, that he should win probably the first prize, provincial.
in the provincial.
Yes, but he was short the first one in his area
Yes.
by more than 800 pigeons, but not only first, he make also 4 birds of his 6 by the 6 first.
In the first 6 pigeons.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
magnificent.
I do unbelievable well.
Wouldn't it be a miracle if you won the National today after
Well,
being
I
there this
hope
morning?
for Pros, I should be very happy for him, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, we make a bet for a super.
Yeah.
And I should be the loser, but I like to pay it. We win the first
Well, if you
national.
can't win yourself, obviously.
Yeah.
The pair in box 12, August.
Yeah.
That's also a winner from Bourges.
Yes, he was as youngster. He was a winner here in the area.
Yes.
The first prize of Bourges. He make also a top result in the provincial race and also on the national race.
Also.
Yes, but he was not only good not only winner on Bourges, but he makes also a very top prize on Argenton.
Yes.
As youngster
La Souterraine,
and also
maybe?
La Souterraine, yes.
Because in Belgium you race 2 La Souterraines, one from Argenton and one from Bourges with the young birds.
Yeah, but that's because we race the championship of Belgium for the youngsters. We race on that 4 races.
4 national
Yeah,
races.
you have the choice from 3 of the 4 races.
That's right.
And they can make point with the 2 first nominated pigeons. So the most prizes you can make is 6.
Yes.
And then they make a calculation that who make the most top prizes, he is the winner of the national championship.
Championship. August, this you say is a box within a box
Yeah.
when you design this loft.
Well, in my opinion, it's necessary for a good loft that you can control the warm, the heat, the cold, the humidity, everything.
Yes, the
For that
ventilation.
reason, yeah, the ventilation. For that reason, I build a box in a box.
For the insulation.
Yes, so that I can close everything when I like, and
Yes.
I can open everything when I like, you know.
The same with the ventilation in the roof. Would
Yes.
you just show us
Yes, yes.
how the ventilation works?
So, as I need,
Yes.
I can close.
Yeah. If it's too cold, you close the ventilation.
Yes, but not only for the cold,
But for the humidity.
also for the warm, for the heat. When
Yes.
the temperature is going up very high,
Yes.
I close it also. It keeps me the same temperature all the time, you know.
So it's cooler with it
Yeah,
closed.
of course.
It cools it
When
down.
the sun is shining always on the
On the
stove.
tiles,
yeah,
they
on
get
the
red
tile.
up, they're red.
Well, it should be warm up, very hot, you know.
Yes.
Well, when I cover it by my separations here,
It keeps the temperature down.
Yeah.
What sort of temperature do you want?
well, let me say in summertime it can be 20, 22, 24 degrees, it's okay.
Yes.
As long as I keep it around 20 degrees, it's okay. And I can open it, let me say, till half of the roof.
Yes.
Why not complete? Because I always want to keep my birds out of the windy, out of the ventilation, you understand?
Yes, they want to be back in the box,
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
back of the
yeah,
box.
yeah. So let me say that I always close it for the half.
Yes. And where does the fresh air come in this loft, August? Presumably through here,
Yeah.
the fresh air?
No more like that.
No,
I
there's
hate.
none on the floor.
No, I hate it.
It's no good.
No.
The fresh air wants to come in through
Yeah,
here,
yeah.
and it falls onto the floor, and then it goes out through the.
Why I do it? Because when wet air
It gets in.
is
Near the floor?
more heavy.
Yes.
So it comes in on the top, it goes down.
Falls to the floor and pushes the hot air out.
And because like the winter time, I have floor heating over
Yes,
here.
yes.
So it warms up.
Yeah.
And it go up again.
And it's warm when it's going past
so
the pigeon.
it gives, let me say, circulation.
Super.
And it keeps all in best condition.
I'm sure. Lovely. And ventilation and humidity is the two most important things in pigeon racing, apart from perhaps feeding.
You know, 10, 15 years ago, I proved it out.
Yes.
With help of the Weather Institute in Belgium.
Yeah.
They give me 2 or 3 times in a day, they give me the weather temperature, the
Yeah.
humidity in the air and everything. And in that case, I built my loft and I control everything, which is the best temperature and which is the best humidity. I write 12 articles about
a
it.
thesis on it.
Yeah,
Yes.
and it works perfect.
I'm sure.
If you keep it, the humidity about 55%, you know?
Yes.
Super.
Well,
Everything's in condition.
Everybody's aware in this country, and most people in England, that you're probably the most authoritative journalist on the pigeon sport in the world, I would think. I think I can say that about you, and this is the reason you know, one of the reasons you wrote this thesis 15 years ago.
Yeah.
Yes, and it is something that people still talk about today.
Well, I think because it's a duty of a very good journalist that you bring information to everybody.
That's right.
So to help your novices in the sport and everything,
yes.
Well, I think you have to give out your information, all what you can catch, you have to give out to everybody.
I think so, yes. It's your duty as a journalist. August, how long have you been in the pigeon sport?
Well, I started up in the pigeon sport directly after the Second World War. I was 11 years, I'm 57 now, so 46 years.
46 years in the sport?
Yes.
And a pigeon journalist you've been for a long, long time. Out for how many years?
From 1957 I started as a journalist in the pigeon sport.
You did? And I believe you was once the editor of one of the papers also?
Well, yes, I was director of the Reisdaf, and I was cooperating with the Belgische Duivensport, with het laatste nieuws, with the Sport AT, and I write articles for many magazines in the world.
Yeah, I believe so. Such as?
Like Akio no Tomo in Japan.
Japan, yeah.
Love Pigeon Fanciers, and all the whole performers in Taiwan.
Taiwan?
For the SEHU in South Africa.
Yes. In America also, I think?
Yeah, for the Thoroughbred and the Racing Pigeon magazine.
You're a frequent visitor also to Taiwan, I think.
Yes, I go this year for the 16th time I go to Taiwan.
For the 16th time?
Yes.
And how many times to Japan?
6th time in Japan, this time for the 7th time to Japan.
That's a lot of times in the Far East.
I was twice in the South Africa, I was in the United States.
Yes.
I travel all over the world.
So I know you've many friends that come and visit you in Belgium, and you conduct them on tours around Belgium to various fanciers.
Yes, it's very regularly, practically every week.
Yes.
People from outside countries are visiting us here, especially for the pigeon sport.
I think, in all due respects, it's an honour to be able to do that, August.
Well, I like to do it.
Yes,
yes,
I'm sure.
Yes, yes.
And among your personal friends, I think, are the Janssen brothers also.
Yes, yes, yes.
Yeah. How many years have you known the Janssens?
Oh, I know from I was a child, and first I looked to him like to a statue, you know.
That's right.
But,
Indeed, a lot of other people have
yeah,
done.
when I was writing my articles for the newspaper, after a while I had more contact with him, and
yes.
They accept me, let me say, like a house friend.
I'm sure.
Yes.
In fact, I believe you could be said that you're a confidant of the Janssens, really.
Well, I think it's a question of confidence.
Of trust.
Yes, yes. These are very fine people, in my opinion. They are very honest people, and I like them very much. And well, I go several times just for a talk. That's all.
That's right.
And they like to do it. Yes.
I think you would regard them as being probably the finest strain makers of all time, would you say?
Of course, there is no discussion at all, you know. You have to understand, the Janssen brothers, they do it for, let me say, 70, 80 years, starting by their father.
Henry, I believe.
Yes, and then the sons take over, and still they keep their line as pure as possible, always by inbreeding. So in my opinion, they are not only specialists, they are really fine people who knows how a bird must be bred.
Surely to goodness.
And the proof is done by so many pigeons spread all over the world, and hundreds of pigeon fanciers are very successful.
That's right. So you would say for the sprint middle distance, there's never been a family of pigeons as good as the Janssens.
Of course not, and I still had in question what the people said that maybe the Janssen birds can only doing sprint and then middle distance. I can give you 10 names of pigeon fanciers all over the
They
world.
won nationals at long distance.
Of course.
That's right.
Van He.
Yes.
He
yes.
especially brought the Janssen birds in,
Yes.
in his line because they're doing so well and they
That's
bred
right.
them immediately national winners.
It's the way you angle them. It's the way you angle them, you know,
Yes,
the way
of
you get them
course,
ready.
of course.
Now, in Belgium over the last 20 years or 30 years, who do you regard as being the best fanciers over that period of time?
Well, it's very difficult, you know, because Belgium is well known as the roots of the pigeon sport and we
Yes.
have many good fanciers, but one of them is certainly Jan Grondelaars.
I think so myself.
For myself, I think if we take an average over the last 30, 40 years, without any doubt, Jan Grondelaars.
He's been the best.
In my opinion, the best.
Frost Rosen says the same. For the last 20 years.
Let me say that Jan Grondelaars was the teacher of Forest Roses.
That's what he would do then.
Yeah, very
He was
good
the
friend.
pupil, yes.
Yes, and the pros was the pupil, and then
Yeah.
he raised some pigeons from Jan.
From
and
Jan, yeah.
Brought them in his own lines, and they do super.
A terrific pigeon fancier,
course,
as Jan
yes,
Grondelaars. And who else would you put in that ilk?
Oh, there are many good ones, but middle distance, well, let me say, William Geerts had a very good period.
Yes.
Together with William Geerts, Willy van Beirendonck is coming up. And
In the Union also?
Oh,
yes.
yeah, not only in the Union, but he do it also on the provincial races.
Yes.
And last year he won the national race of Bourges.
Bourges.
And
57,000 pigeons in total?
yeah, today I'm very sure he classified himself again on the top of the national race
Yes.
from Bourges. So he's
Those are the old Van den Bosch pigeons of Willys.
yeah.
And the pigeons of Grondelaars are Hofkins, Janssen, a little bit of Van Riel in them, I think, also.
Well, I think all those guys, they use their ears and their eyes very well, you know.
Yes, and they get them from the people that are
They
doing
know
well.
where the bell is hanging and then they ring the bell when it's necessary.
That's
you know.
right. So you're saying to me and to the viewers, really, that they go and buy pigeons from people that are flying well to keep themselves at the top of the sport?
Of course, they
Yes.
follow the rules of the Lord, you know. You give them 2 ears and 1 mouth.
That's right.
It means they have listened twice and they speak just 1 time,
Well,
you know.
yeah,
They do it
I
very
know what you
good.
mean. Yeah. The north of Belgium, and especially the Antwerp region's a very strong region for sprint and middle distance.
Yeah.
Who, in your opinion, is the finest sprint fanciers in Belgium at present?
Well, I think Soontjes from Wommelgem. A man who can win 14 races from 15 in a year,
Yes.
he's super.
Where was that?
It was Soontjes last year.
Yes.
In
In your club, maybe, was
In
it?
very strong concurrence, unbelievable strong concurrence, and always by 700-800 pigeons.
Yes, and he won 14 out of 15
Yeah, he
races.
was unbeatable.
Yes. I know he's a very good reputation for 10
Yeah.
years. And Frost Rosen flies very well with his pigeons also.
Yeah. And then Karel Hufkens is also a very strong sprint racer
Karel Hofkins from Giel.
from Gale, yes.
He has 5 ace pigeons, I think, in the last 10 years.
5 ace pigeons and I think 3, certainly 3 and perhaps 4 Olympiad pigeons on the sprint
In the last 10 years.
in the last 10 years.
And the basis of those pigeons are Janssen also.
Is Janssen also?
And Soesens. Soesens the same?
Soontjes.
Janssen?
Yeah, there is a little bit Janssen in
Yes.
it, I'm very sure.
I think so.
Yeah,
So Janssen crop up again?
yeah, you come always on the same,
I'm sure they do.
on the same source. It's always coming.
It always
up.
comes back to Janssen
Yeah,
brothers.
Yeah.
All the time.
Yeah.
And-
It's just like everybody of us, we come from Adam and Eve.
That's right.
I think in the pigeon sport, a lot is coming from the Janssen birds.
Surely, especially for sprint and middle
Yeah,
distance,
yeah.
and then for good crossing into long distance trains as well, to put the speed into them.
Well, I don't know any good fancier in Belgium who has no Janssen
Janssen
blood.
pigeons, that's
Or
true.
no Janssen blood.
I'm sure that's right. And for the middle distance, I believe Huben raced very well.
I'm very sure that Ruben is one of the best of this moment in Belgium.
Yes.
Yeah.
And what is his origin of Huben's pigeons?
Well, that's amazing. Let me say that you can classify the Ruben pigeons just from the same origin from where the Janssen origin is coming.
They're the same base as the Janssen.
As you know, the Janssen birds are formed by the scooters
Yes, from the brewer.
from the Brouwer of Herenthout
Yes.
and from the Keulemans pigeons from Berlaar.
Yes.
Well, the grandfather of Hube,
Yeah.
he was very good friend with Keulemans.
Also.
One of the side of the Janssen origin, you know.
At the same time.
At the same time. And he brought from that side, he brought the pigeons of Keulemans
Yes.
to the father of Hube. So it means that in fact Janssen and Huber are the same origins.
But did Huber have them from the brewer also?
I don't know exactly, but Keulemans had that birds from scooters.
Also.
The combination was made before, you know.
And the first gentleman you mentioned, Keulemans, what origin were they? To go back another step, nobody knows.
That's from the early 19th or the late
1800s.
Yes, and
nobody really knows.
Yeah.
Yes, because really the Janssens were forming the pigeons in the start of the modern pigeon sport.
Yeah,
so you can only really go that far back.
And I am very sure Huber did the same on his own way, you know.
Yes.
And he keep also his pigeons very pure, and just he crossed in a little bit the Smith Matthijs.
Dismemberized.
Yeah, and that's all.
So those pigeons were very good crossing pigeons for the Janssens.
Oh yes.
And whereabouts does Huber race?
Huber is also here in the Antwerp province, you know.
He does?
Yeah.
In the north of Belgium, which is the strongest area, you know, the south.
Well, I should say that the Flemish part, and that is the north side of Belgium, we have 5 provinces: West Flanders, East Flanders, Antwerp, Limburg and Brabant.
Yes.
Well, they delivered, let me say, 80% of all the pigeon fences in Belgium. I give an example: Antwerp, 18,000 members.
Yes.
East of Flanders, 21,000 members.
Yes.
West Flanders, 14,000 members. In Limburg, about 8,000, I think. Brabant, about 20,000.
That's about 92,000, about 90,000 members in just 5 provinces in the north.
And the fact is that in those provinces, developed the pigeon sport, let me say, to more and more professional.
So it's become more professional.
The competition should be very hard, and if you want to survival, well, the only thing you can do is select very hard, otherwise you are a loser in advance.
That's right. You know, you've got to be very keen on selection every year. And the birdage is increasing. A record birdage last year from Bourge, 57,000.
Yeah.
This year it's even being bettered. There's 80,000.
That's amazing. The number of pigeon fences is going down.
Just slightly, yes.
Not very heavy
No,
anymore,
but just slightly.
because it stabilized a little
That's
bit
right.
now. But
the
the
birdage
amazing
is
thing
going
is
up.
that the number of pigeons is coming up.
That's right.
So everybody bred more pigeons,
That's
select
right.
more harder,
That's right.
and finally, on the end,
You get a better product.
Yeah.
You think you get a better product for that?
No, it works very well.
I think so.
I'm very sure.
I'm sure it does. August, we've been friends for quite a number of years now. And I'd like to thank you for giving this interview for the British Fancy, in fact for the Fancy worldwide. I'd like to also thank you on behalf of the Fancy for everything you've done for the Fancy, you know, for the sport generally. You've made a tremendous contribution over the years, and I'm the first to realise that, and not the only person by any means. Thanks very much indeed.
Okay, thank you.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Along this street, for almost 100 years, have walked the most famous feet in world pigeon racing. This is School Street, Arendonk, a small town on the Belgian-Dutch border. And the feet, of course, belong to the family Janssen. Henry Janssen and his famous sons have been wonderful ambassadors for the sport of pigeon racing. The family home is at number 6. And over this threshold have stepped thousands of visitors from all over the world, of every colour and creed. And although the invasion of their privacy must have been tiresome on many occasions, they never complained and always accepted being in the public eye with great dignity and humility. This modest terrace house has been the home of the brothers for most of their lives. After visitors enter the small courtyard at the rear of the house, they are immediately struck by a feeling of majesty. There is a presence that is difficult to define. It feels as if time has stood still. You can feel the overwhelming atmosphere of yesteryear, as though you can reach out and touch the dear departed Henry and Pauline Janssen and 6 of their 9 children. Obviously, they cannot be present in the flesh, but you can believe me, they are all there in spirit. It is now time to introduce to you the players in this magnificent saga that spans 14 decades and 2 centuries. Henry Janssen, born 1872, died 1949. A mild-mannered man with a quiet disposition. was successful with pigeons from the outset as a 14-year-old, but more of that later. Pauline Janssen, Mama, born 1877, died 1967. Most of the people who knew Mama Janssen during her long 90 years on this earth believed that on her death she did not go to heaven, but returned there, because she surely was an angel. Pauline outlived her husband by 18 years. She died in 1967. Alphonse Janssen, Fons, born 1895. Fons was the oldest of Henry and Pauline's 9 children. He was a much underrated pigeon man, very much revered by his father, and took an active part in the formation of the early Janssen family of pigeons. More on that subject later. Fons left the family home when he married at the age of 27. Franz Janssen, born 1897, died 1982. Franz was never in the public eye, but he lived his long life to its full, never leaving Arendonk, and what may surprise a lot of viewers, he was himself a very successful fancier. Like Fons, he left home to marry. He was the second oldest of the children. 2 interesting points. First, the young Charles Janssen formed a partnership with his older brother. This, however, did not flourish, because evidently Franz was too generous towards his friends and thought nothing of giving away their best pigeons. So Charles went home to fly on his own. Secondly, that very successful fancier of world renown, Louis van Loon from Poppel, formed his great family of pigeons around those obtained from France. Jeff Janssen, born 1902, died 1988. Jeff, my family found to be a super person. He died in 1988 between the shooting of both films. Although not a fanatical fancier like his father or brothers, it was not in his makeup to be a winner, but he was a person I would have liked to know better. Jeff did the menial tasks. Here you see him sweeping up the courtyard. He also walks the dog, collects the clocks for the races, but never handles the pigeons. Well, hardly ever. On our visit in 1985, it came out in the conversation that the brothers' most famous pigeon at that time, the world-renowned 019, which had won 18 first prizes for them, had never been handled by Jeff. That was put right that day. The cock was then 12 years old, and as you can see, he handled it as though born to it. What am I saying? Of course, he was born to it. Vic Janssen, born 1905. Up until his death, Vic never married. He lived at home with his brothers and sister Irma, and, as if he had to be the exception to the rule, never had any inclination towards pigeons. His first love was like that of his father, before he took to pigeon racing. Small birds, finches and canaries. The passion in Vic could be roused, however, by a good football match. Irma Janssen, born 1909, died 1980. Irma never married. She was the epitome of Mama Janssen. One can safely assume that she saw her purpose in life as caring for the family after Mama could not cope any longer. Much loved and revered by her brothers, her passing left a similar void as when Mama passed away. Adriaan Janssen, born 1906, died 1981. Now I must try and script a portrait of one of the finest pigeon fanciers ever to grace our sport. If my woeful ability with the pen leaves this task only partially achieved, I am safe in the certain knowledge that even the finest authors would have immense difficulty doing justice to this subject. Adriaan is simply Adriaan, the most accomplished of the brothers, a shy, retiring figure, not a very good mixer. When he spoke, which was not often, he would speak so quietly that one would have extreme difficulty hearing him. He was only comfortable when he was surrounded by their pigeons, and they adored him. Adriaan was the racing man among the brothers. He was also the memory man of the family, the modern-day computer, so to speak. No records of the breeding details were written down. If anyone had a question that Charles or Louis couldn't answer, which was quite frequent, all they did was ask the computer. He always knew the answer. When Sister Irma died, Adrian never really recovered from the shock and passed on shortly afterwards. Before doing so, however, he had one final task in life, one that for which all the lovers of the Janssen pigeons the world over will be forever in his debt. On his deathbed, he solemnly dictated for days the breeding of the pigeons to his very attentive brother Louis. It was not until this task was completed that he slipped quietly away. Marie Janssen. Marie was the other daughter of Henry and Pauline. She, unlike Irma, did marry. In fact, she was the wife of Tist Eisen, whom connoisseurs of the Janssen family of birds will know raced very well with them for a good number of years in the town of Arendonk. Louis Janssen, born 1912. Louis is the most amiable, the PR man, the bookkeeper. Although his memory is not as good as it used to be, it is still quite excellent. In the early days, he worked as a diamond cutter, an occupation of one of his older brothers. Later, in his work life, he worked in the local cigar factory. Although not in the same class as Adrian and Charles among the pigeons, it is because of his dedication to the tedious side of pigeon racing, the bookwork, that we can be eternally grateful for the accurate records that have been kept. When we last filmed, it was discovered to great amusement that it was Louis's birthday the very next day. He would be 79 years younger. Charles Janssen, born 1913. At a mere 78, he is the baby of the family. When we visited him last, his health was not too good. He had severe breathing problems. As I have previously mentioned, Charles' early excursion into pigeon racing was with his older brother, Franz. When this did not work out, he set up a loft of his own at the family home. These teenage years soon passed by, and then he joined in with the rest of the family with the pigeons. Charles, like Adrian, was a natural pigeon dancer, though both were quite individuals. Their dedication and will to win was stronger than any ordinary fancy. Nothing was too much trouble. They both simply lived for the pigeons, and the pigeons lived for, raced for, and won for them. When Adrian was alive, he used to look for the natural flyers, and Charles' task was to take care of and prepare the widowhood cocks. Every one of the family had an individual function that complemented each other. Fawns, rather like pigeons. Adrian lovingly took care of the natural ones. Charles, he motivated the widowhood cocks. Louis, he took care of the bookwork and PR. Jeff did the menial tasks, ran the errands. Irma, she took over the welfare of the brothers after Mama passed away. Vic watched his football and then kept out of the way. Franz married and flew the family flag elsewhere in Arendonk with much success. Marie married Tist Eisen, and he raced very successfully. Savor these moments. We will never see their like again. The lofts. The brothers have 4 lofts in the attic. One old bird loft in the garden, which is called the Run. Visitors sometimes mistakenly believe that this is the stock loft. In fact, the brothers do not have a loft designated solely for breeding purposes. Then, of course, the 3-meter-long young bird loft with its large aviary. Notice the amount of glass in this loft. Their lofts are very Spartan, old-fashioned even, very cold in winter and warm to hot in summer, depending totally on the nature of the weather. All timber surfaces within the lofts are untreated. The brothers believe that wood should be able to breathe. To sum up then, no modern gadgets or devices. Things are left to nature, as they have been for above 100 years. But it must be stressed, the occupants of the loft have plenty of room. The maximum amount of pigeons that are wintered is 35 pairs. They are scrupulously clean. 3 times a day this aspect of management is attended to. The birds are very happy in their environment. What is more surprising is the fact that into these very attic lofts their small select band of champions performed. Just imagine how many great racing pigeons have pitched on this roof and trapped well in advance of their race rivals. Upon closer examination of the surroundings, we see the stuff that legend is made from. In this small courtyard is of course the old pear tree, appearing to be rather too big for its surroundings. The legendary well from which the water for the pigeons has been drawn there many years. The brothers occasionally throw a lump of chalk into the water to keep it nice and soft. From the courtyard at the rear of the house, you gain access through the kitchen, and upon entering the home of the brothers, you get the feeling that you are passing into a time warp, so to speak. Very little has changed over the last 50 years or so. On our latest visit, we accompanied August Delemans, who is a long-time friend and confidant of the family.
This gentleman a friend?
Well, one of the friends is here from the village. They come to stay hello and
Yes?
to talk about...
Talk about Boers?
No, not Boers, no, the race of today.
Oh, today's race? Yes?
Ah, that's one should be for me.
Well, that August, yes? Yeah. We got them 3 minutes, yeah? Thank you. Huh?
Weer of niet?
Nee.
Dan laten we op en door.
Beauties.
Het is gewoon zelf.
Ja.
Ja.
De moeder en de vader?
De witplak.
De witplak? Ja.
Ja, dan al een
How many old birds have you now?
Hoeveel oude gaan we er nog zeggen? 46.
Only 46?
Ja.
Oh.
En hoeveel jongen halen? En 14 youngsters.
Only 54?
Altogether 60 birds. All and young. Yeah.
But you never had a lot of pigeons, August. The Janssen brothers never had a lot.
Well, eigenlijk hebben we dan eigenlijk nooit niet heel veel gehad. That's 70.
70, that's the maximum.
That's every...
Plus or minus.
Yeah.
Kan los worden, zo
Yeah, it depends on the time of the year, you know. Sometimes in the full season when the youngsters are growing up, they have 72.
Yes.
At the time they have 68, but always around 70.
What age now is Louis?
We ook tellen Louis. En die don't tell us anymore. You ask the wrong question. Ask her, oh,
Then the girl now too, my food you like never tell me.
yeah, after some weeks he's 79.
Yes.
He's still 78, he said, but he's 79 very shortly.
When is your birthday?
Je moet even de oude zeggen, dan misschien nog een dag op sturen. In March.
In March, fine open.
Nee?
Yes.
Serious?
That's what?
Tomorrow we will be his birthday.
Tomorrow?
Augustus the 5th. August the 5th.
It's his birthday tomorrow. Yeah.
Maar ja, dan kom ik morgen in de avond al en ik drink een fles champagne, hè, jongen.
Met die dingen. Nee.
No.
Ja, weet gewoon niet, want kan we niet zo dicht. Ja, met die flesje van met dat.
En een kast sigaren of zo?
Ja, die heb ik genoeg toch smoren. Wie wil het raam en smoren op iets maals.
Ja, dat willen we wel doen.
Drop dan aan zo,
Ja.
smoren zijn. Ik weet dat, die ligt in de rij mee.
Your brother's birthday tomorrow, Charles?
Broer verjaardag morgen, hebben we verjaardag gegaan? In december.
In December?
Ja, that's the problem. And he should be 78, yeah, what's the actual, man?
78?
Yeah. He should be 78 in December, and he's 79. Oh yeah? 31 of December, the last day of the
The
year.
last day of the year?
Yeah.
It's a very good age, August.
Dat geeft op. Iedere dag lang hebben we de wacht dat ik kom en dan heb je al je moeder weer. Moet dan precies dat praat dan?
August, it tells me that you win the Belgium-Holland race. 4 times?
No, 3 times.
3 times?
They compete 4 times and they win 3 times. Ik zeg juist, ik heb al geweest, want dat je 4 keer meegedaan hebt in België en Holland. Hè?
Ja.
Dat je 3 keer de eerste gewonnen hebt.
2 keer.
Ah, 2 keer, ja. 2 times, sorry.
Twice. Twice in 5 years?
Then we mobiel keer, they just raced 4 times.
Yes,
the competition is 5 years gone, but they just competed 4 times, and twice they win.
Yes.
And each time they just throw 3 birds in the race.
Only 3. From what distance, Charles?
It's 425 kilometers.
A good distance.
440.
Middle distance?
Dat is ook de rest die wat Orleans, hè?
Nee,
Of Chantilly, maar dat is 400 kilometer.
Yeah. But that's middle distance.
Yeah.
But which were the pigeons? Can the pigeons, Charles, that won the...
Welke dag heeft hij gewonnen de rest keer?
Chantilly. Je niet nou naar Chantilly, hè?
Ah, in the name of the bird is all the Chantilly.
Yeah.
Oh, ja.
Afvlaming.
Ja.
Moet ik zeggen.
The name?
Hoe je dat noemt?
Cookie.
What?
Cookie.
Met een cookie. Dat wordt wel een fox in. Nee, ik ga
The brothers have always had a little dog about the house. Never one with a fine pedigree, as one might expect, but an ordinary mongrel. This one's name is Pookie, and he is not as aggressive as his predecessor was some 6 years ago. A moment of light amusement in a very relaxed atmosphere. This was the first time the family had allowed the film cameras into their home. Charles, as you can see, is fascinated with his image appearing in the monitor. Most of you will recognize the friend of the family seated between Charles and Louis. He is, of course, Felix Pauwels, one of the finest sprint fanciers of all time in Belgium. In fact, Felix is the sprint champion of all Belgium this season, 1991. The tall figure on Louis's left is Roger Persons of Haarlem, in the province of Limburg, an outstanding exponent of middle and long-distance racing. Felix is holding a daughter of the young Mercs. The pigeon in Roger's hand is its mother.
Yes. That is the mother.
This is the mother of that hand.
Dat is de mother of that hand.
Yes.
En dat is de half-sister van mijn devin.
This one is the half sister of the
Felix
mother.
Pauwels producing.
Yeah.
And direct from Janssen.
Yes, the same hand,
That's
the
right.
same mother.
Which bred the Wittelder.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, the first one and the last pigeon.
Yeah, the first national last in 1982.
Je weet ook wel. Was afbij van België in 92, in
Ja.
82.
Ja.
Hij is van 80, hè?
And that is a son of the magnificent pair that have bred 7 or 8 champion pigeons.
Dat is een goede
Yeah.
Ik had er wel 9 doorwerken dat iets te prijzen won.
9 different cocks were won first prizes from
Yes.
the same couple.
From the same couple.
Yeah.
And that is from a direct Janssen hen.
Yes.
Ja. En dan nog zeker 5 de wins ook, hè?
And five dividends who won
Ook nog, hè?
first prizes from the same couple.
Ook
5 hens.
allemaal.
5 hens as well.
Ja, ook.
From the same couple.
Yes.
De compagnie had goeie hier voor jou.
And which line is that, Felix?
Dat was van het voertuigje, dat kwam
dat
op.
een klein zoeken, hè?
Met een jonge meid.
Met die jonge meid.
Good,
With the young man.
Met een jonge meid.
good flames. In English it's the good hen.
This is the famous 19.
Ja.
Magnificent cock.
Aan de draaien meegeweest, hè, van 18 jaar.
18 first prizes. 18.
18 first prizes.
Yes.
Als je het moet doen, hè.
From 19...
Veel op zo'n zeggen.
73.
From 1973.
Van England, hè.
What is the
Dat is
breeding,
niet
Roger?
door met elkaar.
Nee.
Was the father and the mother from there?
De merk zijn de kweekdorpin was 67.
Father the mark.
The old man.
Oude merk was 67 en de kweekdorpin was 67.
A half brother of
That's the half of the banana of Felix Powell. Again. That is magnificent. Yeah.
Last winter, came a man from Canada. He got $22,000 for that pigeon.
$22,000 for it?
$22,000.
11 years old?
Yes.
Nearly
That's
12.
true. Kunnen we een bels ook zeggen? Je moet maar niet een broeifileren. Je dan broeifileren, jonger katten zie. Wat een bels.
Ja.
Ja, dat hebben we normaal niet.
Ja, dan dat het van ons niks gekost heeft.
Ja.
Dat vinden we weer om te zeggen, ik doe dat. Dat is ook.
Ja.
Ja.
En die...
Dat wordt maar, ik moet wel terug tot op zijn 25 jaar, hè.
En de man vertelde een beetje zijn prijs.
Dat is een van de...
Dit komt van een blauw van de EMC, van die deugd van de stoel.
De dochter of de stier.
Van de Blue of 69, dat is ook de stieren.
Ja, de stier.
Stier.
De stier was... Stier, hè? Dat was eigenlijk een donkere stier, hè? Een oude stier, hè? Die was eigenlijk gewoon weg. Een donkere stier, ja, dat kreeg die in de naam van de stier, was van Drouw aan het maar er zijn allemaal ook een zus, er waren twee uitleidingen, die was ik niet, dat die een donkere stier, dan niet. En ik denk, die moeder, een tukkige stier is. Dan niet zeer zijn het niet zijn, want dat heb ik al gedrag 20 jaar geleden.
En ik woon in die al nu, die blijven, dan moet ik in de bank worden.
It's always been stuck.
Ja.
Yes.
Magnificent trekkers gedaan.
Absolutely. The power.
Dan denk ik dat je man met was.
Ja, ik ken dat zeg dat je die trekjes gedaan naar buiten.
Yes, very well done.
En dat kun je meneer wel koppelen. Als doorwerken. Ja, oké. Hier juni, juli, augustus, september, oktober, november, bij 7 maanden.
This is the mother of the Skulman. She is one of the brothers' best breeding hens.
Dat wordt een hele verschil aan terug. Ja, trainingsperl en alles.
We have all heard the stories of the many visitors to the Janssens who never got a drink on the first or even second visits. I must say, on every occasion I have been there, their hospitality has been faultless. Indeed, this was the very first visit I ever made.
You must be bigger these days.
His apples become bigger.
Photographs adorn the walls, taking us even further back into the past history of the unique family. Mama and Papa Janssen. This lovely old photograph depicts Henry and Pauline in the prime of life. Note the old hand-pumped water system. No hot and cold running water on tap here. Here, Jeff tries to make my wife understand that this is the direction in which the pigeons come on race days. Roger's required to interpret. It was at the front, in a lull between the action, that Pons met and became friendly with Louis Curlemans. Louis's father was a champion fancier back home in Berlin. The year was 1916, and Fons couldn't wait to go and visit his newfound friends at home to see the pigeons. Alas, the enemy had other ideas. Fons was captured and became a prisoner of war until June 1919. Upon his release, he immediately went to the town of Berlin to look up his old friend Louis. The result of this reunion of old comrades in arms was a gift from Louis' father of a pigeon to take home to Arundel. The pigeon in the basket, when he finally arrived home, was the Voss of 1919, a red cock, which along with other reds from the same source in 1926, were the sole origin of all the red Janssen pigeons that are about today.
nog graf van 1920. That's the strain go back to 1920.
Dat ras is de week niet, dat is
Ja.
wel voor de Noor.
Ja.
1920.
Ja, ja, maar ik weet niet, dat kan. Je moet dat...
Het is al een tijd
voor mij tijd.
Ja, maar
Ja,
wat...
nee,
Ja,
ja.
ja, maar... Die koolman van Berlaar, die daar over 20 jaar al
was Vonnekoleman.
Deze was Vonnekoleman. En opnieuw worden daar dingen over gepraat. Er lopen van niet tegen iemand die had wat niet gekend, die koolman. Ja,
Er is op één
ja,
bij.
die hebben
En wat doe je daarna? Zeg, wat doe je daarnaast op de pakvalling? Met wat?
Louis proudly shows this red cock to the camera. The bloodline of this very bird extends to the original Keulemann's pigeons obtained just after the First World War. The Janssens have at present only 3 red pigeons in their loft, 1 cock and 2 hens. Some fanciers maintain that inbreeding reduces the size in pigeons. Well, it certainly doesn't seem to have had any effect upon this bird. The pigeon is returned to the run. That is the name the brothers have given to the small garden loft. Many fanciers believe that the run is the stock loft. They're mistaken. The brothers do not have a loft solely for breeding purposes. The evolution of the Janssen strain. The dynasty of the Janssen strain of pigeons can be definitely defined into 4 distinct eras. It is the latest era that we are the most interested in, but we also need to paint a picture of all that has gone before. Phase 1, the beginning. 1886 to 1926. Only good local pigeons were used. This 40-year period virtually belonged solely to Henry Janssens, the influence of firstly Fons, the oldest son, and then his other brothers didn't come into play until the 1920s. Henry's early family of racing pigeons were a mixture of good local birds crossed in together. He raced in the Oud Turnhout Club from 1886 to 88, and then, at the ripe old age of 16, became one of the founder members of the first pigeon club in Arundel, the year 1888. His first real champion, a blue hen, she won 20 first prizes up to the advent of the First World War in 1914. After the war ended in 1918, Henry continued where he had left off 4 years previously. Phase 2. The introduction of the 3 main elements in the formation of the Janssen strain. Fons was much liked by his father, and his opinion was respected. He was to prove to be a good pigeon fancier in his own right. After his marriage in 1922, Fons naturally flew the nest, so to speak, but he remained close to his family in Arundel. Upon his travels, following his occupation as a customs and excise inspector, he met numerous champion fanciers throughout Belgium. Upon his recommendation, the Janssen family visited several of these and obtained the pigeons that formed the present-day Janssen strain. Pigeons were purchased from the following in 1919 and 1926 from Keulemann's of Berlard. The reds in the family of the Janssens came down through the 2 pigeons they bought from Keulemann's. For example, the Wonder Voss of 45 was a result of the purchase from Keulemann's of the Voss red of 26. From 1932 to 1937, from Jos Shooters of Herenthout. Jos Shooters was a wealthy brewery owner who owned a family of pigeons based upon the old Vegas and Gitz families. At this stage, to illustrate the formation of the modern-day Janssen strain, we could do worse than to look at the pedigree of the Wonderboss of 45. When we visited the Janssen brothers in 1985, they had only 3 red pigeons in their lofts, 1 cock and 2 hens. These were direct descendants from the Wonderboss of 45. Wonderboss 45, Belge 45 411053. This wonderful little red hen became a legend in her lifetime in Arundel, winning many first prizes. This hen's pedigree represents an amalgamation of all the Phase 2 families, which form the present-day pigeons. On the paternal side, she's of the old Keulemans bloodlines. On the maternal side, she's bred down through the world-famous Chalet Blue of 32, a pure shooter's pigeon that is responsible for slaty pigeons one finds in the family. The Chalet Blue of 32 was paired to the Blue of 30, a hen of Henry Janssen's old family. So, in this one pedigree, you have 3 of the 4 ingredients that form the modern-day Janssen strain. The 4th and final ingredient did not arrive until much later. This is the pedigree of the immortal rapper, bred as a late bred in 1935, who went on to win 15 firsts in his racing career. His sire was the Chalet Blue of 32, pure shooters. The dam of the rapper was from the old family of Henry Janssen. The old white eye from 33. This was again one of the foundation pigeons, again half shooters and half Henry's old family. Phase 3, 1945 to 1970. The golden years. These were indeed the golden years of the Janssen brothers. Father Henry died in 1949, and the restraint of his old-fashioned ways were lifted from the brothers. In his lifetime, they were not allowed to practice the widowhood system. Only natural racing was allowed. This was obviously a great drawback, but the fact that they still managed to remain competitive was down to the wonderful team of pigeons that they possessed. Winnings in the 50s. 1953 season, 28 first prizes. 1954 season, 30 first prizes. 1955 season, 32 first prizes. 1956 season, 30 first prizes. From 1945 to 1958, an average of 18 first prizes a season were won. Please bear in mind, this was achieved with only a small team of pigeons, flying in strong competition without duplicating. Here illustrated are just a few of the magnificent pigeons that belong to this golden era. The Rapper, the Oudwittuge, the Raustaart, the Wonderbosk, the Bangers of 51 and 59, the Half Fabry, the Oudwittuge of 65, and last but not least, the Old Merks of 67. The year before Henry Janssen died, the real superstar of the Janssen strain was born, the Blue of 48. This is without doubt the father of the modern-day Janssen strain. Never in the long history of world pigeon racing has there ever been bred another bird that you could even compare with this truly fabulous pigeon. The Blue of 48. For many knowledgeable Janssen experts, this bird is the finest pigeon of all time, of this strain or any other. He is a direct descendant of the base pigeons, the Chalet Blue of 32 and the Blue of 30. What you will find very interesting is that the paternal side of the Blue of 48 and the maternal side of the Wonderbosk of 45 are just the same, both being descendants of the legendary Chalet Blue of 32 and the Blue 30, pure shooters and Henry Janssen's old family. There is the key to the Janssen breeding secret. Perhaps it happened by accident, but I would like to believe it was by design. Let us examine the progeny of the blue of 48. The Mercs, so naturally the young Mercs, 019, Velo, etc. The G-Luger and the rockets of 73 and 76. The Banger 59. The Chateau Roux of Jan Grondelars was also a grandson of the blue of 48. The base pair of Stuff and Rate. Both pigeons owe their existence to the blue of 48. The list is endless, but I think the point is made. It is so important in the understanding of this unique family of pigeons that you grasp the very basics. Study carefully the pedigrees of the blue of 48, Van der Vosk of 45, De Rapper of 35, and the Oudvituga of 33. In these 4 pigeons, you will discover the truth, the light, and salvation, in pigeon terms, that is. Once the basic breeding pattern of these 4 producers has been digested, tackle the extended pedigree of the older Mercs, and if, after careful, in-depth study of this, you are not confused, you are well on the way to mastering the Janssen breeding plan, which has been totally successful for above 100 years. The Oud Mercs, B67 62822031. In my opinion, the old Mercs was the second best producer the family ever owned. The best, of course, as you may be aware, was the blue of 48. Incidentally, study his pedigree, and you will find the blue of 48 in just about every line leading up to the birth of this great racer producer. As a racer, the old Mercs had no equal. He won above 20 first prizes. He was the most famous pigeon in the world. During the 70s, he reproduced his like time and again. First, take 3 quick examples. Young Mercs, 019, and Velo, all sons of the Mercs. They won 15, 18, and 15 first prizes each, without doubling. Study his pedigree again. The answer to the family's breeding program is there for all to see. One must remember that the Mercs was not a striking pigeon to look at. You would never pick him out, but he had the ancestry. Banger 51, B51, 611 7447. One of the mainstream players in this magnificent pigeon drama. To understand the Janssen strain of pigeons, you will have to work out for yourself the role that this pigeon plays. Until you do that, you'll go round in circles. If I took the shortcut and told you what it took me some time to discover, it would lose its benefit, which is to make you think and study and inwardly digest the knowledge that is so necessary so as to understand this complex drama. Bangor 59, B 59 6236207. The timid one of 59 was yet another great racer and producer that came off the young